So this is the story of how my surgery played out and really the process of getting second and third opinion. I land in the hospital on a Monday with a seizure. They immediately schedule surgery for Thursday. So massively invasive surgery. Um, I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. I find out I have a tumor, don't know anything about brain tumors. And all of a sudden, I'm going to get a craniotomy where they're going to cut out a 4-inch section of my brain in a matter of days. So we're moving forward as if that's going to happen the night before. So Wednesday around 3 or 4 p.m., the neurosurgeon comes in and basically presents me with an alternative, which we now know is the LIT treatment, minimally invasive, and kind of throws me for a loop right before we're about to have surgery the next day. So what we decide was I'm going to get discharged and spend a few days trying to really learn what this LIT is about and do my best in a short amount of time, which was over the weekend, to figure out sort of what the best course of action was. So I thought was, let's speak to experts. Let's get a second opinion and a third opinion and see sort of what the perspectives are between the resection, which is massively invasive, and the LIT treatment, the laser therapy, which is minimally invasive. So from a timeline perspective, I have the weekend out of the hospital to figure that out. We reach out to 2 institutions that are renowned. We had some initial struggles getting them the scans, getting them the information. And so the neurosurgeon decides to reach out to them because he knows both of them, shows them the scans, tells them his opinion and his path forward. We speak then on the phone with each of those neurosurgeons at the respective institutions, and they basically corroborate what he says. So their thought is, we've heard the path forward, we agree with the assessment, and we think that LIT treatment is a viable path forward, right? That's an important piece of this, that through their conversations with my main neurosurgeon, they felt like his path was sound. So we go in. A week later, the following Friday, I begin the LIT treatment. And then only months later do I then find out from leading institutions for glioblastoma brain tumors that it should have been a resection all along. That was what was told to me. Whether that's correct or incorrect is irrelevant, but that sort of took me down the path of like, how does that even happen? How do you get a second and third opinion, think you're doing your due diligence, and then you land here? So really, this conversation in this episode is around finding the experts, is around, the process of when you're having a crisis and you're faced with a major decision, how you move forward with that. So with that being said, enjoy this episode, day 57. All right, Hitchhiker's Guide to Cancer, day 57. We're moving. This morning's topic, the conversation was really surrounding my frustrations with where I'm at currently, and the fact that you can feel like you do your due diligence, and all of a sudden you find out that where you thought you've had experts giving you, or you thought you had people giving you really sound advice and expert opinions, and then you'll need to find out the true experts are telling you what the hell happened, like this was all wrong. And so the situation I'm in right now is I'm speaking to Duke and I'm speaking to UCLA, and they're saying, hey, you should have never gotten this clinical treatment. You should have standard of care, which is basically like what anybody should have done is there should have been a resection immediately, which there was a resection on schedule. And then all of a sudden they offered me this clinical treatment. LIT clinical treatment, according to Duke and UCLA, should have been if it came back the second time. And so what the thought that kept coming to my mind is like, how did this happen? I got a second opinion from Johns Hopkins. I got a third opinion from the Mayo Clinic, and I'm going to get into sort of my thought process behind that. But it was really frustrating. But what I realized was, while they have great neurosurgeons, Brad, they aren't specialists in what I have. And I think that's what the big takeaway for me was. If I had to go back again, I had 4 days to make this decision.
Yeah.
But rather than thinking about great institutions, which the Mayo Clinic is and which Hopkins is, and this isn't an indictment on them, they were not experts at glioblastoma. And the second thing that I wonder, when I was trying to get through them, there was some challenges around my getting them my scans. And so this field is really small. So every neurosurgeon knows every neurosurgeon.
Yeah.
And so when there were challenges, my neurosurgeon was like, "What do you want me to just call this neurosurgeon?" Mayo Clinic, Hopkins. He spoke to both of them and he showed them the scans. My question is, how much was that swaying in their decision? If I just sent it to them and they didn't speak to my surgeon, what would their recommendation have been? Because nobody wants to undermine anybody.
Yeah.
So all I heard from Hopkins and Mayo Clinic was simply, I probably shouldn't have said their name, but what was, we agree with the path that he's taken. If I would have just sent them the stuff and said, "What's your opinion based on this information?" What would their response have been? So that keeps coming through my mind.
I can tell you just from my own experience and my family members and loved ones that are in this field, that's usually the best way to get a second opinion is to, here's a blind test.
Yeah.
Here's a blind study.
Yeah.
Make sure that nobody's connected to it, that nobody knows the other person, all that stuff. And that's typically, I think, probably the route that would have been the best. And I think for anybody else who's going through this, is probably the way that,
because you can't,
they're doing it.
If you're a neurosurgeon and you talk to another neurosurgeon who's your counterpart, are you going to come back to me and be like, "I disagree"?
Right. Right.
And that's hard to do, where if you don't know anything,
Exactly.
you're saying, "This is what I would recommend if I were in my position." So
Yep.
That's what I realized was, you're right. It should have been sort of a blind test. And then beyond that, I should have been like, who is an expert at this specific specialty, not who generally knows about neurosurgery.
Yeah.
Those two takeaways for me, if I had to do it all over again, I would have done, because that was what was frustrating, bro. It was like, I got a second and a third opinion. It wasn't like I was just willy-nilly making a decision. So that was a big thing. The other takeaway for me is what I'm doing now. You need somebody that doesn't have any skin in the game. So I mentioned it in my last video where I basically said, I have Google, who has a second opinion team, and I have Stanford, who has grand rounds, which is, again, an independent review, and they're going to guide me on the next decision. I probably didn't have enough time to do that for before, but a second opinion team with no skin in the game,
yeah,
you have to have.
Yeah. I did you say Google?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's kind of
Yeah.
cool. I didn't realize that. That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
But I was just wondering, I was like,
they'll walk you through it's a really cool process, but they'll walk you through the whole thing. It's not even a review of that. You can ask for anything. You can ask for them to compile all the data and put it together with you, create a drive. You can ask them to do whatever. Like, it's a really cool process. They call it the second opinion. I think it's like the second opinion review.
yeah,
But it's a group of experts that are actually like retired, that know the industry, that'll create a report for you, and you can ask whatever questions you want. Stanford's is very similar, but they assign you one person and you can ask them like 5 questions. It's interesting. But they'll write a report based on all of the data they get, the notes. They'll aggregate all of it.
That's
So
really cool. It's kind of like a peer review and live and in person.
Exactly.
I like that. So I guess, moving forward, we have lessons that were learned, but moving forward, like what is your course of action now? Like where do you see yourself taking this? And maybe you don't have the answers to yet. Obviously, we now know that you've gone to UCLA, you've gone to Duke. Like, what do you think may be your next course of action, or have you not really come to a decision yet?
Well, the next course of action is picking my primary team by April 1st. I have this looming deadline, which is April 8th. And I mentioned that in my update video. April 8th, right. UCLA has a tentative surgery for me, which is a resection, which is massively invasive.
Yeah.
And I need to make a decision on my primary team before that, because I haven't done that.
Yeah.
So I thought it was going to be really easy. And initially Duke and UCLA said standard of care is resection. There needed to be a resection. UCLA is leaning towards, you still should just do a resection. Duke is saying, listen, we're already 3/4 of the way in. Let's just finish it out. It is what it is. Let's not just go and, do something to do it.
Right.
I thought that it was going to be really straightforward, and it's just not. So this second opinion is going to carry a lot of weight for me. I have to make the decision by April 1st. And I could probably break this down, but I have I basically created a document of like the factors of my decision and the weights.
Yeah.
Like as much as I, you know, as much as I want to factor in Raleigh's closer than LA, is that a big enough factor? It does mean something.
Yeah.
But it's not as big of a factor as like how like success rate and longevity and all that other stuff, life expectancy extension. So those factors, I'll probably do a video breaking those down. But hopefully this second opinion group gives me a little bit more clarity, because I thought I was going to be I thought I was just going to know. And I don't.
And do you want my opinion?
No, just kidding. Yeah.
I mean, I think the way that I'm looking at it, you know, maybe Duke is going to be a good approach. Like, let's just finish what we got. But the way that I kind of see this is, okay, well, if you finish the process with Duke and you still got to get this thing taken out anyway, then why not just go with what UCLA is moving forward and just kind of get it done and over with, if this is the path we're going to go down regardless?
No, well, they're not saying that. They're saying we may be able to manage it like this. Like we could get through this and it could shrink. That's the theory, is that it shrinks. We can get through this and it shrinks, and you could just look at therapies and you may not have to have a resection.
I see. Okay.
My challenge
makes a little more sense.
My challenge with UCLA is they're awesome. Like from statistical perspective, I don't know if I should be saying these type of things, but they're just not communicative. I can't get it. It bummed me out that I didn't meet Dr. Liao. Like, you didn't even shake my hand.
Yeah.
I don't know what that says. I don't know if that's a big deal to anybody else, but communication wise, Duke is far superior. UCLA, I can't even get a response from them. That worries me.
Yeah.
You're great. If UCLA was where Raleigh is, and if they responded, they would be a no-brainer to me. But that concerns me that I can't even get answers from you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know enough on that end, but what I do know is just like from a perspective, and it doesn't make it any better. Like, that's a shitty place to be for a patient, to just be like, I have this person that might be cutting me open and I have no idea who they are, what kind of person they are. All I have is what they do on paper. So I 100% get where you're coming from there. I think the other part of it is the reality, I guess, is that like they're so busy with everything that they're doing that it makes it nearly impossible to talk to them. But again, like I'm in your camp as far as like, I want to be able to talk to this person.
And and I'm okay with that. If the neurosurgeon is busy, great. You're killing it.
Yeah.
But they're not on the same page.
Yeah.
So she's telling me there's like a tentative schedule, but then every time I talk to another person on her team, he's like, no, it's going forward. You're not on the same page.
Yeah.
And that's raising my anxiety level. And so with Duke, is they're hand in hand. They know what's going on. They're in sync. That's a challenge where like, you guys don't know what's going on here. That was a challenge. The other thing is they set up the April 8th tentative date, and they scheduled my meeting with her to review all of the testing I did.
Yeah.
For April 7th. So I was going to fly out to LA the day before. I was like, there's no chance. That's why I emailed them and said, we got to meet earlier. I want to meet next week.
Yeah.
And I still haven't. 3 days ago, I said I wanted that meeting. I still haven't got that meeting on the books.
Right.
And so there's some sort of communication breakdown. Well, these are red flags and we haven't even had surgery. You really think that makes sense to have a meeting the day before? Like that, just, I don't understand.
Yeah.
So those are to me fundamental breakdowns, but that's sort of where we're at. And, you know, I'm hoping the second opinion review will help us find more information.
I mean, communications is a huge deal, especially when you're dealing with a life or death type of matter. Like, that's got to be.
But then statistically, it shows.
I know.
That UCLA is just, they're getting like the life expectancy numbers are just off the charts. And it's like, all right. So we'll keep everybody apprised of what's going on. Every Friday and Monday, we do videos. T-shirts are out. Candles are out. We got merch out. Golf tournaments happen May 23rd. So many things are going on.
Yeah.
Really exciting. So check out the description for all those links, and we'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
Bye.